Hello. First, I want to say, do you notice the art? So this is my boyfriend's unfinished piece that he wants to finish. And so we just wanted to hang it up because we have a bunch of art that we finally hung up on Monday. And then a friend drew Lilo for me. And so I love Lilo and Stitch. And then that is Aria back there. Another friend drew Aria for me. And so I'm happy that we hung the art up. But this video is about different ways of how you can utilize your beta reader. And I'm just specifically gonna talk about a unique way that I did for my novel Home Sweet Home. And I am so grateful I did it this way because I feel like I haven't heard this way talked about a lot. But it was very beneficial for me. So I had asked my friend if he could beta read for me. But the thing is, because of his body and his needs, he needed me to read it to him. And I was down to do that because I had a old, I guess she was never a coworker. She was a friend. But we were like in and out of communicating. And she read half of my novel, but she didn't read all of it. And she was helpful with some of the edits, but I needed a beta reader for my whole novel, and I was glad he was available. And so I think we scheduled Tuesday and Thursday or Wednesday and Thursdays. I would call him and then I would read to him for like an hour, or we would try, the goal was always 2 chapters, but sometimes depending on our schedules 1 chapter maybe is all we got done, but it was okay because it was still helpful. So yeah, I sadly don't remember how long it took. Maybe 4 to 6 months, I'm not positive. It could have been less, it could have been more. I don't know if I wrote those notes down, but I will say that it was super helpful because I'm just going to go over, like, from what I'm remembering of the many ways that I enjoyed this experience. So first, I got to hear real-time reaction as if like a reader was just like hearing my story and guessing about the characters, guessing what's going to happen next, seeing what he already understood about the story and seeing what he was curious about, or maybe what he was confused about, because that was helpful too. And so, first, I will say he is a part of my target audience demographic because he is a black male, and my story is about 2 teen black boys. And so, I wanted to make sure it felt realistic. The language, the demeanor felt real because I am not a boy. And so I wanted to make sure that it sounded like a guy's perspective, the two male characters I had versus from a female perspective. And so he definitely helped me with that. And so yes, first I enjoyed the real-time reaction and just hearing how he would guess and how he thought about the story. Second, it was helpful to go chapter by chapter because I would write down edits, any questions he had, any gaps I had left that was confusing or that could have been clearer. Three, along with the edits, I could edit right there, then and there with him. If he was like, oh, a guy wouldn't sit like that, or oh, that seems too aggressive, maybe rewrite it this way. And so that was very helpful. 4, throughout, I was asking him about the title of my book and thoughts he had, especially because he was reading it. And so by the end, I wanted to know, do you think this title would fit more, or this other title? Because I hadn't decided my title yet for my novel. And so that was helpful, getting the chapter or getting the feel of what the story sounds like would be best as the title for it, as well as even the description. I had a rough description, and he didn't get second to last final of it, but he was helping me in that regard to figure out a description. Let me see what else in my notes. I liked the stand outline, so the things that he shared that he liked, whether it was something a character said, whether it was a character he liked. So, for example, he liked Uncle Roger, and Uncle Roger is a very lovable character, and so he always was happy when he saw Uncle Roger in the novel. Um, Let me see. Another thing that I liked by him being a beta reader, where I got to talk to him as he read along with the story, was that I got to ask questions if I feared, does this seem like a realistic time? Or does this sound okay, or should I word it this way, because I was unsure. And so I got to ask that in the moment. I would still read it as I wrote it, hear his comments about just that chapter in general, and then I would ask, did that sound wordy? Should I have changed it? I don't remember what highlight I'm on, but another highlight is that I got to, reading it out loud, help me hear what sounded too wordy or what words I stumbled on. And so that was very beneficial for me, because I would read either on my computer, or I would print out a proof copy and read in book form, which was helpful seeing that different setting. But reading out loud provides a different way of processing our writing. And so that was helpful for me to still realize, like, oh, I could word this different, or that's too long of a sentence, or maybe I was repeating something twice, and so I could have took some words out, or I needed to describe things more. Also, my novel Home Sweet Home jumps in time, and so I wanted to make sure that one of my biggest questions was, are you following along? What do you remember about the last chapters? To make sure that he was still understanding the story, where we were at, what the characters were going through. And luckily he was able to follow along, and I was doing that part well and strong, where it didn't get too confusing. Later on, when I did work with my final editor, she still did suggest that I put like timestamps at the top of each chapter to help the reader, which I do agree was beneficial. So I am glad I did that, because at the time of reading it to him, I don't think I had that. So I can't remember. So yeah, so working just with beta readers and editors, they're both beneficial to help bring the story together at the end stronger and best for the reader, best for the listener. My book is not an audiobook though. It is just an ebook and a paperback. But yeah, it's just to make it the best final draft it can be. And I'm very beneficial that I got to work with him in this way. And he helped me strengthen my story and just experience it in a different way that I didn't realize would be so beneficial. So let me check if there's any more notes I want to share. A bonus thing I would share is that I liked hearing some of the scenes and some of the ways he said he felt he could connect to the character or what was going on. That's just interesting to hear, and especially as a writer, I want it to, and because I'm a realistic fiction writer, I want to hear that it felt relatable, or this felt realistic, or that there could just be a connection. And he said he felt that in some scenes, and I was grateful to hear that. Even the scenes where he laughed, like, that's good that, like, I could write something that was slightly funny, or when he would say, like, that means that I'm conveying an emotion. And I'm glad to hear when I'm doing that well, and also to hear when, nope, I'm not doing it well, or I'm writing something where it's too easy or too obvious of what's about to happen next, and maybe I need to write it a different way. And another thing he also helped me with is realizing that I needed to add 2 more chapters because something was missing. And just like I said, he liked Uncle Roger. And I was realizing I needed another chapter with Uncle Roger so that you could see him more and who he was, because he was growing as more and more of an involved character that you see more later in the story. And so I needed to level, I guess, rise to that level by showing him more and giving him more of a background. And so my beta reader, my friend, helped me realize that I needed to add that scene and add that chapter, as well as another chapter that I added between Harvey and his mom. And it's one of my favorite chapters because it just shows how Harvey is trying to be such a good son and a good person. And it's a precious scene to me, and I'm so grateful I added it. But I don't know if I would have realized that if he wasn't helping me beta read my book. And so, yeah, that's an interesting note and experiences. Of course, there could be some setbacks to reading your story out loud, because it was one I realized while talking to you now. It was just that maybe you're asking too many questions. So maybe I was asking too many questions that I wasn't letting the story just be as it is, even though I did ask after. So I asked after reading the chapter, I would ask the question, but usually sometimes is after 6 chapters or after the whole book, there's 10 questions that the author provides for the beta reader to answer. And so maybe asking after 2 chapters was too much, but for me it was beneficial in that moment because I was going chapter by chapter and able to see the issue right then and there. And so I liked that. Let me think, could there be another like setback to reading out loud with a beta reader? I guess tone. Because sometimes that is a thing. Sometimes he wanted me to like read in like character voices, and I don't do that unless it's a children's book. And so I didn't want to like create voices for these characters. And so I guess tone can affect how an emotion comes across versus if someone's reading the book and just reading it in their head and thinking how the characters sound. So that could be a downfall, a side effect. I don't know, not a side effect, but an effect to reading it out loud. But that's the only 2 I could think of right now. There probably could be more. But I don't hear this talked about a lot. So if you do get a chance to work with a beta reader and maybe they have needs where it's best for read aloud instead of just sending it to them through email or book funnel, see if it's beneficial for you. See if working with your beta reader in this way helps you and your story grow in a way you didn't realize. So definitely let me know. Let me know if you have any questions about this, because there may be stuff I forgot to cover, because my book released September 2024. And so I had planned to make this video a while ago, and I never filmed it. I thought about it. And so here is me doing it months later, and I maybe left things out. And if you'd like to support me, my novel is available on my website. It's available on Amazon, Bookshop, Barnes and Noble, and ebook retailers. So definitely you can support me in the links below. So thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, just write your story. And take care.